Ethiopia, like everything else, is very complicated. Its history is not well known. Not a lot of records are out there. So to put together Ethiopia's history, historians and different writers have used a lot of different methods. Hello guys, welcome back to Dejene Ethiopia Tours. My name is Dejene Hodes and I am the founder, and today we're going to be talking about a very special topic. On top of that, we're going to be talking about this topic for a long time. We're going to be discussing Ethiopia's history. We're going to be starting a theory, so intro to Ethiopian history, and exploring the different avenues of understanding Ethiopian history, all the things that went on in Ethiopia, the important things, the kings of Ethiopia, descendants from King Solomon and Queen of Sheba, all that kind of history that's going on, Ethiopia and Italy, Ethiopia and Egypt, all sorts of stuff. So make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment, and let us know, if you have other comments, other books that you should, we should take a look at, other things that we want to check out. So before we go into other topics, today's thing I want to talk about is Ethiopia's historiography, meaning the study of writing history, because Ethiopia, like everything else, is very complicated. Its history is not well known. Not a lot of records are out there. So to put together Ethiopia's history, historians and different writers have used a lot of different methods and a lot of different lists and a lot of different approaches. So today we're going to discuss about the three main areas where Ethiopia's history is recorded and how they put together a picture of what Ethiopia's history looks like and the facts and the evidence that they have so far. Before anything, the first one is the recordings of the kings. So each king, each emperor during his time, they would have somebody write a story about them, mainly focused around their good deeds, and it's emphasized and focused on, and everything is up how pretty much how great they are, which is what every king really did in history. If you look at Europe, if you look at Asia, everything, the same thing happened in Ethiopia. So we have lists of kings and histories from where it was recorded by the kings, by somebody would dictate to writers, and they would write, and then the king would take a look at it. If he liked it, he'd continue, or if he wanted something to be changed, something to be emphasized, or he didn't like the take on something that he did or anything like that, it would be edited. We have a lot of those. The reason a lot of the kings also kept a history and wrote their own histories and stuff is to make themselves legitimate for the crown. So because theoretically, in a lot of parts of Ethiopia, throughout the kings, you had to show that you were a direct descendant of Makeda, or as most people would know it as Queen of Sheba, which is Ethiopia. And therefore, they would write a history and their lineage, where they came from. And so therefore, there is a lot of record of all the way back to ancient Ethiopian history, just to prove where they came from and why they are the king and the emperor of Ethiopia. So those two things are set. A lot of them would just write direct list of history. They're son of so, son of so, son of so, and it would continue. Others would write a short history of how that king came to power, and the reason he's the right ruler and stuff. A short story, like kind of thing, a history kind of thing, and that's the way they did it. Which that is a very good starting point. But as I said earlier, a lot of kings wrote their own things. They emphasized their own side, and factually may not be as accurate as we would like it to be. The second historiography of Ethiopia, where there's a lot of study done, is by scholars who've looked at different lists from the kings, as I said previously, from other records, from everything, from evidence, in history books, in history, in coins, and castles, or the monuments they built, and all that kind of stuff. From looking at those histories, a lot of scholars came up with a list. Carlos Rossini was one of the first ones to really put together vast amount of list of Ethiopian history, the lineage of the kings and all that kind of stuff. He found evidence of 86 different manuscripts, lists of kings and all that kind of stuff from all over the world, from mostly in Europe, in different libraries in Europe, some from Eritrea area where by that time it was colonized by Italy. Therefore, he found different lists and he put them together in different categories based on the similarities in the list, the amount of kings on each list, and he went on creating, from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. He had different lists on those based on different categories, and the groups had different number of king names on them. A had 47 different names on it. B had 69. C had 94. And so on. They had, all had different names, different number of kings on the list, and but that put together, a really good foundation to really study and fill the gaps and where the kings were. But another scholar, a French scholar, did even better because he took the lists and he added, historical evidence to his list. So he made sure, the kings matched with the Aksumite coins, that was printed. Or other historical evidence, archaeological digs, and that made it even a better list. And therefore, Ethiopian history goes on like that. And for the most part, Ethiopia was cut off from the world in the 9th century. From there on, it kind of went into like a Dark Ages thing. With that Dark Ages, there's a lot of civil war. There's a lot of fight for power until later on, where even it's called the Age of the Princes, where there was a king of Ethiopia technically, but that was overshadowed by individuals in different reigns in different areas, leading their own small groups and areas and becoming their own kings, which later on in 1855, Tewodros would be one of the first kings of Ethiopia, who becomes king of kings by defeating a lot of kings, by allying with a lot of kings, and by making sure that Ethiopia had one unified kingdom. And that's where a lot of history in that regard is taken. The third place where we find Ethiopian history that we put together to understand the full picture of what Ethiopian history is from the church. Ethiopia is a very devoted Christian country. Even still right now, the majority is Christian, then the Muslim, and then smaller religions. But during this ancient time, Ethiopia is mainly almost 90-something% Christian and devoted Christian, Orthodox Christian, Ethiopian Orthodox Christian. So, the monks recorded history, and their method or their approach was to record history of the kings. They recorded everything, but they recorded history in the perspective of, the king's approach to Christianity, how much he did for Christianity, how much he expanded Christianity, how good of a faithful Christian he was. So they recorded his whole life history, but it was mainly through the eyes of the church, looking at how good, or, sometimes the kings would be, made into saints, like Lalibela, King Lalibela, who built the Lalibela churches, the 11 rock-cut churches, which are each carved out of solid rock, and therefore he was, at later age, sanctified just because of how much he did for the Christian kingdom in Ethiopia. And so we have a lot of history like that. So the church has its own list, the kings had their own list, and then historians would take that, add them up, make sure to understand what really happened in Ethiopia. And we have this beautiful country with a lot of different history, fascinating history with, like I said earlier, one of the most fascinating areas would be the Age of the Princes, which means each region having its own king, prince, whatever. And then there's a monarch with really overshadowed, something that really resembles Game of Thrones for fans out there. And so what we're going to be doing in this series is going through early on from medieval Ethiopian history to modern day history of Ethiopia, going slowly, but chapter by chapter, understanding different, simple aspects of Ethiopian history. What was happening in Ethiopia? What was happening in the rest of the world? Examples. And all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a fun series. I hope you guys will enjoy it. You guys will let us know what you think, and other sources that you guys come across that you want to share with us. That would be fantastic. Anything that we make, if we made a mistake in the history, let us know below. Comment, share, and I hope to see you guys in this series that will be coming up once a week. Intro to Ethiopian history from Dejene Ethiopia Tours. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.